Before you join me in the unforgivingly hot outdoors, I wanted to give you a little bit of context on what I'm about to show you. And that is the AT&T Monticello microwave site. I'm going to go back and forth on how I pronounce that. I'm not sure which way is right for this particular one. I'm honestly not sure what this microwave site is named after. Sometimes it felt like AT&T was kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel when it came to finding towns to name these sites after. It's possible that was just the name of a ranch in the area or something. But let's take a look at where the Monticello site is located. It's a convenient one to stop by because it is immediately off of Interstate 25 in south central New Mexico. Now, I say immediately off Interstate 25. It would have originally been built next to the US highway that followed that route, which I want to say was 85, but don't blame me if I got that number wrong. But, it wasn't, of course, an important enough site to have an exit built for it when the freeway was overlaid on the US highway. So it's actually kind of awkward to get now. You have to get off of the freeway quite a few miles away and then follow a frontage road that almost ends at the microwave site. Monticello is one of the relays on a north south microwave route that roughly followed the Rio Grande corridor through central New Mexico. That route would have provided connectivity between El Paso and Albuquerque, being sort of the major cities. It seems like it was also probably a route for transit of some traffic into Mexico via the Juarez area, although I'm a little less sure about that just because it's hard to find for sure documentation on the international gateways. It connected to two different sites. It was just a relay in the middle of a single route, so it's pretty simple that way. One of them up to the north is San Antonio. It's on top of, I believe that is called San Antonio Peak, and that's sort of in the area of Mountain Air, kind of the Quarry historic site. And then to the south, it went to a ridgetop relay called a cutter. And that is almost perfectly in a straight line on the route down to Rincon.
Let's take a look at a microwave site, huh? I'll apologize, it is incredibly sunny out here and I cannot see what I'm recording that well. But I pulled off of Interstate 25. We're at the Monticello, I'm not sure if that should be pronounced Monticello or Monticello, American Tower site. This is a former AT&T microwave site, as we can see from the AT&T modular tower. And it looks like at one point it held 4 horn antennas, 2 mounted at the top on that upper stage, and then 2 mounted down here on the side. That wasn't too unusual for repeaters, that the antennas going one way would be lower, the antennas going the other way would be higher. We can also see that this was originally painted in orange and white stripes, probably a result of its proximity to the Truth or Consequences airport, because they usually only did that when the FAA made them. This has a lovely old outhouse. I think this is of a later vintage than a lot of the microwave stations that I go look at, but that wooden outhouse sure looks a lot older than the sheet metal outhouses that I usually see on these. We might be able to get a look in there. This site's interesting because it does appear to be active. The air conditioning condenser on top of the building is running. The door is well secured, but I don't see any antennas on the tower that look to currently be in use. So I'm not sure. Could be something up the tower that I'm missing. I don't see feed lines either. Could be something I'm missing, but I kind of think that this site is unused. And maybe they're just maintaining the building in caretaker status right now. It's a few details to look at. These metal cages used to protect the feed lines. On these lower ports, you can kind of see the circular guides that the feed lines up to the horns would have passed through. They often put them in these cages lower down. As I understand it, the main concern there was to protect them from falling ice. So maybe icicles that came off of that upper stage. We also have a great view of all the ice bridges down here. So the feed lines would have exited the building through this port where you can still see the remnants of some cables passing through. And then the feed lines would have been across these ice bridges to the four corners of the towers where they would have gone upwards. I'm not sure if I'll find a great spot to show this in the video, but these towers were modular and they were assembled to order for each site. So when you look around, you can often see the site name that's been, I want to say Sharpied, but I think probably actually like paint markered onto all of the members of the tower. So we know that this tower was made for the Monticello site. And on one of these, let's see if I can get you a view through the fence. You can see Assembly C139 Monticello. Why do I say this is a later vintage than some of the other sites I look at? I do not believe this site is nuclear hardened. I think these kind of sheet metal culvert covers are covering vents. That's interesting. There's like the remnants of some kind of, that might just be a manufacturer logo. I'm not sure on that. I believe these are shielding vents, but this site doesn't have the concrete covers for the vents. So I don't think that it was nuclear hardened. It's also cinder block. I think the other sites are cinder block too, but I think they concreted over the exteriors. Oh, that's the fence just kind of ends there. You know, this site is more secured than most, but still, American Tower only does so much with these sites. I really think this one probably doesn't have, please keep gate closed at all times. I think this one probably doesn't have any tenants. But still, it's a nice example of a little later era microwave site. That air conditioning condenser is newer than the building, although the roof vent near it looks original. That generator and the fenced area for the tank are also not original. The original generator would have been in the building, and in fact, we can see what would have been the exhaust stack from the original generator. You know, I say that. I actually don't see a generator there. It looks like that's just a fuel tank. So I think they may still be using the generator in the building, and they've just... originally, these sites had underground fuel tanks, and of course, underground storage tanks, if you will, have a reputation for becoming leaking underground storage tanks, or lusts. And there's a lot of permitting obligations around them as a result. So I wouldn't be surprised if they made a decision to remove the underground tank, replace it with an above ground tank, just to make sure nothing was leaking and to simplify their permitting operations. Well, there you go. Not a whole lot to say here, but this is the former AT&T Monticello site, now American Tower.